What's good, y'all? Blacksmith here, and today we're here to talk about Hurry Up Tomorrow, a movie starring Abel Tesfaye, famously known as The Weeknd, and co-starring Jenna Ortega with a title that shares the same name as his album. So in turn, this makes the album that came out prior to this movie the soundtrack. And this also serves as Abel Tesfaye's first leading role in a feature film. Yeah, the development for this movie must have been insane. But was all the insanity worth the finished product? Let's talk about it. Hurry Up Tomorrow stars Abel Tesfaye playing a fictionalized version of himself, still performing as The Weeknd, but going through bits of a mental breakdown. But along the way, he meets a woman who makes him question himself, his sanity, and his very existence. As someone who's heard the album, I can honestly say I can see how this could fit and incorporate itself into being a feature film because the music itself does sound cinematic. But it has to be done right, not just for the movie's sake, but for the fans. So, did the movie get it right? Let's get into these pros and cons. The first pro I want to talk about, the production. This movie looked great. This movie looked just like you would imagine a Weeknd music video to look like, but extended. Every shot either looked energetic and glossy or very somber, but in the best way possible. And this could be because the movie's producer, Kevin Turin, also worked on shows like Euphoria and The Idol, and those shows look great too. This movie focused heavily on each character's facial features and expressions because they wanted to get all the details of their emotions correct so you could pretty much understand or feel what the characters are feeling. Same thing goes with the sound design and the music. It sounded great in there. Whenever there was music playing, it sounded fantastic. The next and last pro I want to talk about is its authenticity. If you've seen any visuals from The Weeknd from his earlier days up until now, you can tell that this movie was all him. There was no copying anybody else's style. There was no copying anybody else's vibe. This was all The Weeknd, and I appreciated that. Now, let's get into these cons. The first con I want to talk about, the execution of the story. I know the movie was inspired by the album or vice versa, but I do have to talk about this movie not only as a movie critic, but also a music critic and fan of The Weeknd. Because I was there. I was there in the beginning for the original trilogy mixtapes. House of Balloons, Thursday, Echoes of Silence. I was there for all of them. So if you were there like I was, then you might understand that everything that I'm about to say might be a bit true and hard to hear. So remember when I said if you listen to Hurry Up Tomorrow, it sounds like it could be part of a soundtrack or at least incorporate it into a film because it does sound cinematic. I didn't really have any expectations for this movie going in. I barely knew the plot, to be completely honest with you. I really thought going in that this movie was going to be his version of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker movie. And for those of you who don't know what Moonwalker is, it was a movie that Michael Jackson made in the 80s where he pretty much took a bunch of music videos and extended them and added plots to them. So basically make them mini movies. Because this movie started off really strong. It had a strong opening, a strong first act, especially when it came to the music. It was really great. And then it's like it took a complete nosedive towards the end of the second act leading into the third. Yeah, the story kind of just fell off, and I don't know why they did certain things and didn't just do different things, I guess, but it just wasn't, it didn't keep my attention for too long after the second act, and I was kind of disappointed after that. But I was still willing to give it a chance, even through the next cons, which the second con I have to talk about, the acting. Now, I think we've all seen The Idol. We've all seen The Idol, the show on HBO that The Weeknd was in. We were not impressed with his acting. We were not impressed with really anything about The Idol. And unfortunately, this is no different. The Weeknd's acting was not compelling. It wasn't even really good. But I do have to give props to Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega pretty much saved this movie when it came to the acting. And a part of me thinks she had to water herself down and bring herself down to Abel's level because he really wasn't there acting-wise. But you can tell she was at least having fun. So props to Jenna Ortega. Her acting was great. And to wrap this up, the last con I want to talk about, the fan service. Or should I say lack thereof, because I don't think a lot of Weeknd fans got what they really wanted from this movie. And I went to the movie with Weeknd fans and we had a whole conversation about this. They were expecting a lot of other things to happen and expecting a lot of other things to show up and be seen because of what they even visualized in the music that the Weeknd made for this movie. Even the fans were left confused as to what they were watching and what they had seen, and they were even coming up with better ideas of what this movie could have done or shown to make it better and more entertaining. Overall, I didn't really enjoy this movie, but I'm not gonna hate on it too much because this movie was made for a specific type of audience, a very niche audience, fans of The Weeknd. And shout out to my good friend Natalie, who's an artist and a huge Weeknd fan, who made us custom bingo cards to play with while we went to go see this movie. And it doesn't have any spoilers on it, and you can see I didn't win, but it was pretty fun. So if you're a fan of The Weeknd, I would suggest probably checking this out either out of pure curiosity or just fandom and appreciation for his art, but you might be a bit disappointed. And if you're not a fan of The Weeknd and you don't care, then I would suggest skipping this. You're not really going to care about this movie at all. Thanks for checking out my review. Let me know if you plan on seeing this movie. Let me know if you already have and what you thought about it. Let me know what you thought about my review, and give this video a like and your boy a follow. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, peace.